Gajananam bhutaganadi sevitam kapita jambo palasara bhakshitam umasutam shoka vinashakaranam namami vigneshvara pada pankajam shadananam kunkumaraktavaranam mahamatim divyamayora bahanam Rudrasya sunam surasanyanatam kuham sadaham sharanam prapadye ya kundandu tusharaharadvala ya shubravastravlita ya vinavradendamandita ya shveta padmasana ya brahmachuta shankara prabhitivir devai sada pujita Samampatu Saraswati Bhagavati Nisheshwarjadyapaha Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Shri Shivanandaya Te Namaha Shri Vishnudevanandaya Te Namaha Om Sarvamangalamangaliye Shive Sarvate Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Narayani Namostute Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavai Om Shanti 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 Om Peace Peace Peace. And now we honor the teachers. Om Bolo Sadguru Sivananda Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Bolo Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaj Ki Jai. So just a short bio. With roots in the Pacific Northwest, Mariah found herself far from her temperate mountains landscape when she landed in the Bahamas in 2009. Since arriving on these island shores, she has dedicated herself to embracing her adopted home, and this genuineness shows through her writing and through involvement in her local community. An avid yoga and meditation practitioner for decades, the healing world finally beckoned when she trained as a yoga instructor in 2017. This propelled her on a plant medicine retreat in Central America, where she first had contact with shamanic practices and eventually training directly with Alberto Villoldo as she completed a 300-hour shamanic energy medicine course in Chile. Her writing has evolved from Bahamas-specific travel writing, including publishing the first edition of Moon Bahamas and managing the popular Out Island Life website, to wellness articles here on her blog and a book she is writing on. She is passionate about her path as a healer and dedicated to bring these ancient teachings to the Western world through writing and practitioner work. So let's give a big hand to Mariah Moyle.
Okay. Is this right? Can you hear me? Okay. I wonder if we should create a little bit more of a circle. Do you mind maybe just moving the chairs inward, and then if other people show up, then we can adjust the circle a little bit just so it's a little more intimate. Perfect. Is that okay? Okay. Good. All right. So we'll actually start by opening ceremony space, sacred space in the shamanic tradition. So we'll go ahead and jump right into that. And then she actually did a really good job of introducing me, but I'll talk about a little bit about my journey and my path, how I got to sitting right here in front of you. So we'll go ahead and stand, and in the, let's see, how does this work? In the lineage that I trained under, we face all four directions and then honor the earth, Pachamama, and then honor the universe, the cosmos. So I'll just go ahead and lead it, and we can face in the directions. So let's see, this way is south, so we'll start by everyone facing south. Okay. To the winds of the south, great serpent, Sachamama, wrap your coils of light around us. Teach us to shed the past as you shed your skin and tread softly on the earth. Come be with us here in this space today. Aho. And then we'll face west, so turn to your right. To the winds of the west, Mother Jaguar, Otorongo, come be with us here today. Come show us the way of peace and the way of impeccability. Teach us the way beyond fear and the way beyond death. Come be with us. Aho. And then facing north. To the winds of the north, hummingbird, to all of our ancestors, the ancient ones, grandmothers, grandfathers, we honor you who have come before us and those who will come after us, our children's children. Please bring your wisdom into this space today. Aho. And facing east. To the winds of the east, eagle, condor, come to us from the place of the rising sun. Come to us and show us the wisdom and perspective and the view from the highest heights. Teach us to fly wingtip to wingtip with great spirit. Aho. And then honoring Mother Earth, Pachamama. Mother Earth, Pachamama, thank you for holding us so sweetly in your arms. We honor you and all of our relations here on this earth, the two-legged, the four-legged, those that swim, those that fly, and those that crawl upon the earth, all of our relations. Aho. And up to the cosmos. Father, Son, Grandmother Moon, star nations, Great Spirit, be here with us in this space today. Bring us your wisdom and teach us to give thanks for singing the song of life one more day. Aho. All right. Sacred ceremonial space is now open. Hi. Okay. So I will have to keep my notes handy so I don't get off track. So I'm going to do my best to cover a lot of content in a short period of time. The shamanic practice that I trained under is so in-depth, and there's so much, but I'm going to try and just touch on the basis of healing with the energy medicine practices. So I'll just start with a little bit about myself. So my name is Mariah Moyle. I live here in the Bahamas. I'm originally from Seattle area, and I've been in the Bahamas for about 9 years. And so I've been teaching yoga, practicing yoga off and on, but mostly on for the past 15 years. And then now I'm teaching at a studio here in Nassau. And I've been on this kind of path of healing, as you know we all are who are sitting here in this space, I'm sure, of trying to let go of things that don't serve me, of patterns, traits, traumas, things that are either societal learned or things that, of course, have happened to myself in this experience, this lifetime. So I've been kind of avidly on this path of working on myself, and I consider yoga and meditation to be kind of the gateway. I call it the gateway in my workshops that I teach at the studio, because I really feel like it is a way to start to develop that connection with the body, bringing your external world onto this space on your mat where you can really start to examine it, look at it, and see how it reflects out into your day-to-day life. And so I feel, for me, that was the most important first step in my journey. And when I wanted to go a little bit deeper into it, and both my husband and I are on the same path, I feel very fortunate that I have a partner who is dedicated also to working on himself and being the best person that he can be. And so we decided to, back up. About a year and a half ago, I watched a YouTube video on plant medicine, on ayahuasca, to be specific, and I have no idea why. That is not something that would ever grab me, would to be go off into the jungle and partake in psychedelics, basically. But I don't know, there was something in it that was calling me and drawing me to it. So we ended up booking to a retreat center in Costa Rica, and it was completely life-changing. It was one of the most difficult things I ever did. I faced a lot of things that I probably wasn't ready for. And I do always say that, now I say that it is something that's kind of an advanced practice, not for everyone. Some people can go right into it and get what they need out of it. But for me, I really needed to let go and shed a lot of things before I went into it, which I did, but it was still extremely difficult. So I ended up experiencing the shamanic ceremonies, and I fell in love with it, and I was like, I need more of this. I want to learn more, but I wasn't called to be working with the master plants anymore. And so I found Alberto Villoldo's training, and another teacher who's a friend of mine. He also lives in Nassau, and he had been studying under Alberto for many, many years. So, we call him up for coffee, and what's this all about? So I end up going off to Chile to do the training. So now I'm back in Nassau. We have a community with the yoga studio who's very supportive, and I've just felt so welcomed with the practice. So I've been working with energy medicine with clients now, one-on-one, and incorporating it into my yoga. And it's very interesting with my yoga teachings and workshops, how similar shamanic practices are to yoga. Some of the teachings of yoga, we talk about our karma that we've gotten caught up in, and our dharma, and our working into non-attachment and non-violence, of course. So there's a lot of very similar mindsets and practices with the shamanic work. So for me, it was just a perfect integration of yoga and the shamanic teachings. So I'm trying to think. I think that brings us up to date to where we are right here. Last night we had a very beautiful full moon ceremony on the beach. It was a little windy, but we made it work. So we do a full moon ceremony every month, which really brings the community together, and all kinds of people show up to that. So it's really beautiful. So yeah, I think that brings me up to date. Do you mind if we go around the circle and I just get your names and where you're from? Is that okay? I'd really just like to kind of hear. You want to start?
I'm Sita from Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
And I've been coming to the yoga retreat for about 35 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice. Good. Good. I'm glad you're here.
I'm Julie, and I'm from New Jersey. It's my first time doing a retreat.
Oh, wow. Welcome. Yay. Are you enjoying it? Good, good, good.
Hi, I'm Kim, spiritual name Amrita, from Buffalo, New York originally.
Ah, I lived in Buffalo for a few years.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And I live in Toronto
Okay.
now, part Mohawk, so when I heard shamanic, I was like, there.
Very cool.
So interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're here. Okay.
I'm Magdalena, and I'm from Boulder, Colorado, and I'm first time here.
Okay. To Sivananda and the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Or both? Okay. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Jackie from Montreal, and it's my first time here. So.
Wow. A lot of newbies. Good.
Kim, I'm from Prince
Good, good. Okay, perfect.
My name is Charis. I'm from Boston. Also first time. Yeah, interested in self-healing and all of it.
Good. Okay.
My name
Yeah.
is Marcia, and I'm from Northern California, and I've been living for 3 years in Copenhagen.
Very nice. Good. Okay, good.
Hello, my name is Nina. I'm from Russia. I did my yoga shades was once here in church this place.
Good, good. Oh, good. Thank you for your introductions. It's nice to kind of know who's here and be a part of a circle, you know, a community. That's kind of what shamanic practice is all about, is that sense of community. So good. And a lot of people from in the cold regions, right? So hope you're, even though it's not the most perfect weather here, I'm sure it's a lot milder. So. All right, so we'll get started with some of the practices. So I'm going to specifically talk about healing with shamanic energy medicine. So I'm also a writer. I guess that was mentioned, but so I write for several publications. It has transitioned from writing about the Bahamas. I wrote a travel guidebook on the Bahamas for people, you know, looking to. My husband's in construction and real estate, so buy, build, and then also travel in the Bahamas. So I have slowly been transitioning into more writing about healing and whether it's examples from my personal journey or you know, things I've been learning in the shamanic practice. So this definition of shamanism, that it's kind of one that I came up with, and it reflects my practice and where I'm at with the lineage that I studied under. So I studied under the Quiro Incan shamans of the high Andes, and so I'll read the definition and then I'll kind of break it down a little bit. So what is shamanism? Shamans are map makers working at the energetic level closest to source, or the universe, God, spirit, whatever you would like to call it, whatever resonates with you, to help dream our world into being. Clients are healed and problems are solved through opening a dialogue with nature, utilizing the power of archetypes, and by journeying into unknown realms. So I'll kind of break that down a little bit. So the first keyword, I guess, is map maker. So with working with clients, or in the traditional sense, it would have been your village members, people in your community. It's so the map maker is either adjusting your current map or making a new map. So oftentimes people are looking at this point that they're headed to on their current map, and maybe it's not exactly where they want to be going to, but all of the situations and circumstances that you have in your life are propelling you to that point. So the shaman asks you where you want to go, what you want to be, what you think your future looks like, and helps you to recreate that map. So maybe the destination isn't even on your current map. Maybe you have to make some big changes in your life in order to accommodate that. So I mean, it doesn't have to be as drastic as leaving your relationship and, you know, moving to a different country and you know, completely letting your whole world cave in. But sometimes that's what, you know, if it depends on how extreme you want to make the change. Sometimes it's just subtle adjustments, like, oh, maybe I should switch jobs, or you know, make some changes to my diet if there's, you know, some imbalances within the physical body. So the next one, dreaming our world into being. So moving from being dreamed, so being I would call it the victim, being the person who is looking at their own life as feeling helpless, like, oh, this just happens to me. Everything is happening to me, and I have no control over it. And moving from that attitude where it's like, why is this happening to me, to what is this trying to teach me, and why is this placed here in my life as a roadblock that I need to navigate around, and then using that to start to be the dreamer. So start to be the creator of your life, and know that you can make the changes. You can create the existence that you only dare dream of. So so the shaman will help you with that. And just to clarify too, so I did do a shamanic training. I don't call myself a shaman because I feel that it is potentially disrespectful to people that are maybe born into a lineage or have worked their entire lives to be at where they're at. So I prefer shamanic practitioner. So then, yes, so moving on to the problems are being solved through opening a dialogue with nature. So stones, all of these stones went through their own kind of ceremonies and rites. They either spent time in sand paintings, they went into ceremony fires. A couple of these crystals are from the top of the mountain that I hiked up to in Chile. And they all have been inducted into my, this is called my mesa, into my healing kit to assist me with healing. So these are connected with the chakras. When someone has something physically, mentally, emotionally, the stones are then placed on the chakra to help clear and to help release whatever it is from the energetic field. So our energetic field, also known as, we call it the LEF, the luminous energy field, also known as the aura or whatever you would like to call it, but your energetic field around your body, which can be a couple inches off your body depending on how closed off you might be feeling, or if you're feeling very open, perhaps you're spending a lot of time in nature. It can be expansive out from your body, and the field is unlimited. So the highest frequency of your field is going to be closest to your physical body, but your energetic field is reaching to the far ends, to the cosmos. And so energetically, we really are all connected. So we're all sitting in this room, our energy fields are bouncing off one another, sending information to each other and within each other in this space. So and then we attract some of the things that through the traumas in the field, we are attracting similar situations. Maybe you're always in the same relationship, or you keep seeming to attract the same things to you over and over again. Oftentimes that's something in the energy field that is attracting that to you. So the shaman helps you release and move through any of those imprints that are on your field. So working with plants, so some shamans do use the psychedelic plant medicines, such as ayahuasca with the Amazonian shamans on the more low-lying mountain regions of South America, and in North America, peyote or San Pedro. But often the shamans are not. A true shaman should be able to get into the trance state without the help. So through drumming, through chanting, through meditation. So and then plants in the other aspect being plant medicine in order to just assist with ailments. So most shamans will be using whatever the natural resources are within their local area. So in the Bahamas, we have what's known as bush medicine. So the majority of the people, the Black Bahamian population in the Bahamas stem from Africa. So they brought some of the African shamanic roots with them, and they immediately went out into the bush to figure out which plants were used for curing a stomach ache or a headache or motion sickness or a sunburn. And so we have, in my yard, I have growing soursop, which is used as a powerful antioxidant for healing. A lot of people use it as they're going through chemotherapy to help with their cancer treatment. Breadfruit, aloe, ganep. There's a multitude of different plant medicines. So you'll find that many shamans throughout the world will be using whatever their local plants are in their healing process, which is something that I am so interested in and I really want to be incorporating more so into my practice. I make my own teas at home and I dry out the leaves of the different trees that I have in my garden. And then using the power of archetypes. So it was interesting. I've had a tumultuous relationship with the archetypes, mostly because I feel like they bring out shadow sides, and that's what they're utilized for. So archetypes can be so when I just called in the directions, we called in serpent, jaguar, hummingbird, and eagle, and condor. And so those are the shamanic archetypes, and each of them represent something in the lineage. They have their own kind of personalities, if you will, which I'll go into a little bit in a little while. And there's also the archetypes like the victim, the perpetrator, and the rescuer. So an example of that on a collective level is in the South American tradition, or in South America, the victim being the indigenous people, the perpetrator being the Spanish conquistadors, and the rescuers being the missionaries. So that's kind of a very collective role that has been ingrained in the psyche of many people from Central and South America. In the Hindu belief system, that Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, they all have their own powerful. You would call in Shiva at a particular point in your life. So all of these, you can call on them for their strengths, but then also to help you, show you your weakness, show you your shadow side. Tarot cards are another one, which I don't know much about tarot cards, but we use them quite a bit throughout our training. So tapping into your high priestess, or I'm trying to think, hermit, what are they, the Joker? I'm trying to think of some of the ones, but and we would pull them and dance them or express them and start to really feel them within ourselves. So we all have all of these aspects of archetypes, and it's a matter of diving into them and seeing what they can teach you. And then journeying into the unknown realms. So using drums, chanting, moving into deep meditation, and so they're throughout the shamanic teachings in the moving into the Western world. There's the ordinary realm, which we're in right now. We're looking at each other physically. We're in the 3D realm of space and time. And there's another realm that's known as the non-ordinary realm. So the realm that you tap into timelessness, and you're tapping into the future not being something way far away, but something that you can connect with here and now. So the shaman is able to enter this non-ordinary state through the chants, through drumming. And let's see, keeping myself on track here. So shaman, the word shaman comes from the Tungus, which is a Siberian indigenous people. And the word is saman, meaning one who knows. So that's the person who can go into these altered states, this non-ordinary reality, to pull out information. And this was used in the indigenous cultures for something like tracking where the buffalo are and tracking ahead into the future to figure out, basically triangulate, okay, we need to show up where they are at the exact same time, helping people move through the death process. So helping people, whether they're leaving just from old age or from an illness, or if it was something traumatic where they could potentially be stuck in a realm where they don't feel free. So helping people to pass gracefully into the next realm, and to help the family members who were left behind. And then, of course, healing disease, healing the imprints from the energy field. And then there's, I guess with me personally, I had my own misconceptions about shamanism for a long time, and images of kind of sorcery would pop up for me, and casting spells, and there's also misconceptions with voodoo too. I mean, you say the word voodoo and people are like, oh, voodoo dolls and curses and whatnot, and they do voodoo, and then also we have here in the Bahamas Obeah, and they both stem from African shamanic roots, and there is kind of the mentality here in the Bahamas of Obeah where it's that it's for curses, but again, it just depends on how you use the power. So you can use it for healing, and you can use it in a not so good way. So I like this quote: "The power to heal also yields the power to kill, and a benevolent shaman can be a malevolent sorcerer." So it comes down to a matter of ethics, and whether you're tapping into the lower vibrations of just looking for maybe being coerced by money or status, so you help someone out by casting a spell on their lover that did them wrong, and that's there, and we learn the practices of not the practices, but I would say that sorcery is there. And so to protect yourself from it when you're working with these heavy energies, when you're moving things around, that you're both protected and you're not unintentionally sending it out into the universe, into the world, into the vibration in the wrong way, and that of course you're not purposely doing that, and that's up to you and your karma and the other person who's requesting it. But there's definitely been, and I'm speaking for myself personally, that I was under the same with voodoo, under the impression that it was curses and spells, but it's not. Most are out there trying to do good and to heal. So, any questions? Sorry, I feel like I'm just like blah blah blah.
What is the difference between a shaman and a curandera?
So a curandera is a cure. Curandera is a shaman, but an ayahuasquero is also a shaman. So the cure cures. The cure is helping people to release the disease, whatever it is. Shamans can be a multitude of different things. So a cure is specifically healing, like a healer and a cure. And a shaman could be someone holding ceremony space or not necessarily healing. So that's a good question because, oh, good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right here, and then they have some coat in their mouth, and then they spray it on you.
Mm-hmm.
But it works.
Good.
And
Yeah.
it works that same thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
Shamans would do more of a ceremony.
It depends on what. So a curandero is also a shaman, but a shaman is not necessarily a healer. So shaman is kind of like the big, and then there's the more detailed. So it's kind of like yoga, and then it's like, well, what type of yoga are you teaching or practicing?
So a shaman would help you heal yourself.
A curandero helps you heal yourself, yeah. But like I said, with a shaman or shamanic practitioner, you could be holding ceremony. You could be a cacao ceremony. That's your thing. Is that you're bringing community together, not necessarily healing. So, yeah. So, one-on-one, yeah. So, yeah. Anyone else right now? I could take more questions later, but I just felt like I was talking a lot. So like, let me take a break for a second. How are we doing for time? That clock is hard to see. Okay. I'm gonna talk, and then I also want to do an exercise with you guys too. So I have so many fun exercises. I'm like, I can't believe we don't have enough time. So one of my favorite shamanic, I wouldn't call it a practice, but just kind of a mindset mentality. It's keeping a secret. And when I first heard that, I was kind of confused about keeping a secret. I'm like, what are the shamans keeping a secret from us about? What are they not telling us? And I realized at some point later that the shaman is actually keeping a secret from themselves. So our divinity, our greatness, how big we actually are as a spiritual being, these human bodies can't comprehend that, and we're not designed to. We're designed to forget. And so, that we can catch glimpses of it, tapping into, the higher chakras and working into meditation. Maybe we see it, glimpses of it, and we're like, oh, wow, that was amazing, that was so huge. But we can't hold on to it. It's not something that we live with in our day-to-day life, unless you're actually a physical being that's, an enlightened guru or something along those lines. But for the most part, most of us, we are keeping that secret from ourselves. And so we end up being the seeker. We have this almost unobtainable goal of transcending the ego and finding enlightenment and seeking and seeking and seeking. And we're always seeking, and we're never there. So the practice of keeping a secret is actually just being with the fact that we don't know, we can't connect with it, we can't see it all the time. And we just have to realize that it's there, but, that we need to live our human lives and be a part of this, be a part of the community. We have to have our ego a little bit to be able to relate to other people. While it doesn't need to be necessarily in control in the driver's seat, we need to be able to relate to other human beings in a community, in a society. So I really love that practice in particular. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the momentum tunnel. So I have my whiteboard. I'm going to talk about the momentum tunnel, which I also really like too. So there is a momentum tunnel. And if you're here, every probability, I always get them confused, probability is going in this momentum tunnel. So we're basically the course of our lives going forward is, for the most part, 98% in this tunnel, based on our circumstances, what we have set up around us, our baggage from, our ancestors or from society. And so we're going along this path. And one thing that someone explained to me recently about the concept of time. So I don't know if you have all experienced that things seem to be going faster, and sometimes it's kind of like, oh, well, as you get older, things get faster. Someone was explaining to me at one point recently that when you're at a lower vibration or a lower frequency, that things move a little bit slower to give you time to be able to make the changes that you need to get to a safe point in the future. Or I don't want to use the term safe as if it's unsafe, but just make the changes that you need to, re-steer your vessel if you need to. When you start to tap into the higher vibrations, and when you are releasing things that have been holding you back, time starts moving faster. You're moving through this momentum tunnel a lot faster. But at that point, it's harder to steer your ship. So if you're in a big ship, you have to think about, if you want to move outside of this momentum tunnel, how are you going to steer that? So your 98% probabilities are all here. But if you want this possibility that's out here, maybe there's a great example that one of Alberto's clients was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was a professor at a university, a researcher, scientist in San Francisco area, and Alberto was working with him, and he's like tracking into his future, and he's like, I don't see a point where you don't die from this cancer. He was having a really hard time finding that future version of himself where he survived. But he did find that point, and he helped him destiny track to that point outside of his momentum tunnel where he overcomes the cancer. But what had to happen, so you don't think about what's in between. You are looking at this point and you're navigating from here to here and just letting basically the universe do the rest, whatever needs to fall into place. Well, once they started tracking to that point, things started to come up for him, and he had to leave his job at the university, which he loved so much. He had a lot of stress, though, and it was not helping his recovery process. I believe he left his relationship whatever all the changes were. He ended up in Alaska being a wood carver living out in the country somewhere. So he had completely changed his life, but he survived. So that's kind of what the momentum tunnel is all about, is you have all these options in the future based on where you are right now, and maybe there are just small percentages, there are possibilities outside the momentum tunnel, and the shaman will help you track to that, based on what it is that you really want to work towards. Excuse me. Yeah? No, in this circumstance, all of his within the momentum tunnel, he was, yeah. In some cases, yeah. Your choices within that tunnel are just fine. Yeah. Is that correct? Yeah, and especially if you're on this path of healing, of you're already shedding things, you're letting things go. If you were hard-headed, stubborn, and you wanted to make some change that just was not in alignment with where you were already heading. For most of us that are sitting here, we're sitting here because we're working on ourselves actively. We're getting to this point where things are really coming into alignment. So I'm sure whatever you have in your future that you want to work towards is probably within your momentum tunnel. It's just a matter of.
And is it shedding that letting go vibrationally, the momentum, so it makes you feel like time is moving? It definitely feels like it's moving.
Yeah. Yeah. You're letting go of your baggage. Yeah, yeah. So, this was all kind of like quantum physics theories and things, and it was really, I'll have to remember who it was that I was actually talking to about that, but yeah. Does that answer? Okay.
That's kind of what I was wondering. So these are possibilities, or are they actual parallel timelines?
I can't speak on the parallel timelines because I've never seen myself in another parallel timeline. Potentially, yes, that all possibilities are there, and that we are living all different existences where anything is happening and everything. In this particular case that I'm referring to, it's this reality that you're in right now, and where you are going in this reality. So there's a possibility if you make this decision today that's going to steamroll you over here, but if you make the other decision, then it's going to steamroll you over here. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. I'm going to go through the medicine wheel before we run out of time. So, and let me just I want to talk about a couple more little things. I have so much, so much. So finding balance is a big part of the shamanic practice, and one of my favorite, it's an old Chinese parable, I believe, is, and you may be familiar with it, and it's, I can never just say it quickly, because it's not something that you can say quickly, but basically the story goes is that there's a farmer and he has a horse, and his horse runs away. His neighbor says, you know, you're nodding your head. His neighbor says, oh, that's bad luck. And the farmer says, maybe so, maybe not. A few days later, the horse comes back with some wild mares, and so he ends up with a bunch more horses. His neighbor's like, oh, that's good luck. And he's like, maybe so, maybe not. The next week, his son is trying to break one of the mares and gets bucked off and falls and breaks his leg. And the neighbor's like, oh, that's bad luck. And he's like, maybe so, maybe not. The next week, the army comes through town looking for all able-bodied citizens to go to war, you know, to fight whoever it was. And the son can't go because he has a broken leg. And so his neighbor's like, oh, that's good luck. And the farmer's like, maybe so, maybe not. So it goes, you know, it goes on and on and on. But you can see that nothing is really good or bad, because whatever, when you zoom out to the big picture, that it ended up exactly how it was supposed to. And maybe that moment where the son breaks his leg, it's like, oh, like, this is terrible, right? But it also changed what potentially, you know, it potentially saved his life. So the shamanic practice of looking at things not as good or bad, and this existence is about duality. So we have black, white, we have up, down, high, low, yin, yang. Everything has an opposite. And we sometimes look at the opposite, or the dark side, or the yin side, or the feminine side, as bad. And as a culture, you know, we're looking at these things as something that is that should be avoided, but it can't be, because you can't just live in bliss and peace and joy and happiness. You have moments of it, and you feel it and experience it, but there is always the opposite of that. But it's not necessarily looking at that as being something bad. It's looking at it as just being part of the existence, and looking at it as either a lesson or that's steering you in the direction that you need to go in. So I use that that story a lot when I can, because I really like it. And then one of the biggest things when you're going through shamanic healing is, and in my practice, we use diet quite a bit, but resetting the fight or flight. So a lot of us are operating in the sympathetic nervous system in fight or flight, stemming back from, well, in this day and age, I was going to say in caveman days, but in caveman days, and even, so I guess I like the example of a zebra. If a zebra is running away from a lion, being chased by a lion, it kicks into fight or flight. It's trying to save its life. All of its digestive systems, reproductive, everything shut down, and they are focusing on saving their life. When they're done with that, and they've survived, and the lion's nowhere to be seen, the zebra goes right back into rest and digest, into the parasympathetic nervous system, moving into to focusing on digesting the reproductive organs, all the anti-stress hormones. And we, as a society in the Western culture, we live a lot in fight or flight. We think that there's a lion chasing us all the time. And so it disrupts our digestive system. It disrupts so many aspects of ourselves. We're producing adrenaline and cortisol, and then we're fueling it with caffeine and potentially alcohol or whatever it is that you're stimulation by just staring at your phone all the time, getting messages on your phone, stressing you out. So we're constantly living in that. So part of the practice also is resetting that. And I always say, if you're a coffee drinker, that's the first thing that you should cut out, because that is one of the number one things that helps spike anxiety. So if you deal with anxiety and stress, then go to decaf or drink more tea or whatever it is. So, and so then I'm going to talk a little bit about the 4 directions, the medicine wheel. So in my healing journey, there's this quote that keeps coming up for me, and it's an Albert Einstein quote, and it's a little different every time if you Google search it, but basically the premise of it is that we can't solve a problem at the same level of thinking as the mind that created it, or as whatever it was that created it. So that didn't really make sense to me for a long time. I was kind of like, what does that mean? How are we leveling up to solve a problem? So in the shamanic sense, we go all the way up to the level of energy, the highest level, source, creator, whatever you want to call it, but energy when it comes down to it. And that's why it's called energy medicine, is that we're healing everything, the physical body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, with energy, with this highest level. So the shaman is tapping into that to be able to heal everything lower than it. And yes, you can heal something with the physical body, with the mind, but it's easiest to just go to the top. So I'll make my way quickly around the medicine wheel. And it was interesting because you go through each direction separately, and you really incorporate them into your practice before moving on to the next one. But it wasn't as clear to me until afterwards, until I was integrating it all, and then I kind of put it down in my own words. So hopefully this kind of helps to make the most sense as possible. So the south is the serpent, so it's the one that we first started out bringing into our ceremony space. This is shedding old roles and limiting beliefs, and it's releasing roles. So everything that we put on ourselves, whether it's mother, daughter, taxi driver, whatever you want to call yourself in your day-to-day world, we give ourselves these roles, and we stick with them based on what society has told us that we need to be when we're the mother. So you can still be a mother, but maybe you let go a little bit of what that means based on what society tells us it means. And those are just very big roles, but I mean, you can get into being the victim. You can get into, you could come up with 100 different roles you put on yourself that are limiting, that are controlling your beliefs and carrying you through this lifetime, not being the dreamer, so not being able to create your reality because you've limited yourself with these roles. So we work on that in the south, and then illuminations, which is basically clearing the major imprints in the energetic field, is a practice of the south. So that's using the stones, working with the chakras. So the animal archetype is the serpent, and then it's represented by the body. The serpent represents healing. If you remember the serpents around the staff for the medical field, the serpent represents healing. It represents shedding the past as it sheds its skin. It represents the body, so at the basic level, the cells, hormones, and molecules. And then with the brain, so all of these correlate with a place in the brain, and this represents the reptilian brain, so the oldest part of the brain, the part of the brain that is associated with our basic functions, are keeping the body temperature regulated, the heart beating, and for basic instinct and survival. This is where fight or flight is held. Moving into the west, so that was represented by jaguar, and that is that's where you step into facing death and realizing that that's just a transition. And in our culture, in our society, we put so much fear around death. So this whole direction is about fear, facing death, and coming to peace with the fact that it is a part of just the transient nature of reality and of existence, and then finding peace and stillness within that, and then starting to live impeccably through releasing some of that. So that's associated with the mind. So the body is the first level, and then the mind, working into words, feelings, emotions. And then the brain that's associated with that is the mammalian, the limbic brain, so the same brain that we share with mammals. The next direction is the north, so the hummingbird. And this represents the hero's journey. So if you think about a hummingbird, how they're these tiny little things, and they have these little frail wings, and they fly from South America up to North America, thousands of miles. We have them come through the Bahamas, and you think about all of a sudden they show up one day and you're like, wow, you just came across the ocean and showed up here. And so it's about courage and resilience, but then also to stop and take in the sweet nectar of life. So I love the hummingbird. I feel like that's one that I really resonate with. And it's also about honoring our ancestors, but then releasing the ancestral pain or trauma that we have, both from our own ancestors and from the collective, so from our society. So it's represented by the hummingbird, and then the soul. So myths, ceremonies, dreams, singing, music. The more creative aspect, tapping into getting up in higher levels of consciousness with the hummingbird. So we have body, mind, soul, and then moving up to the final direction, the east, represented by the eagle or condor, depending on where you are in the world. Condor for South America. Opening a wider perspective, realizing that we are both just tiny little specks, but we are also infinite beings, and then just realizing that enlightenment really isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, that it's that Zen quote that before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And we're still here in this existence, whether we do it with a scowl on our face or a smile on our face, we're still doing the same things. But looking at life with a higher perspective, with the view from the highest mountain tops, and not getting caught up in the mundane. So just seeing, the highest view. This is represented by energy, knowledge, wisdom, and so this is so we have body, mind, soul, and then energy or spirit. And then this is the prefrontal cortex. So the pineal gland, which is situated right behind the third eye, which allows us to, when we tap into it through meditation, allows us to connect with the higher chakras. So this is psychic abilities, lucid dreaming, and advanced spiritual practice. So that is the medicine wheel. Does that make sense? I mean, it's kind of moving your way through these different levels, but then at the very top, that's where the healing is being accessed. So the shaman taps into that highest energetic realm to do the healing. Yeah.
When you do sessions, like, is there certain numbers that you have? They are representing numbers, or beyond so many people?
Oh, I do one-on-one.
Huh?
One-on-one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's just one-on-one. Yeah. For the way I do my sessions is that I'm sitting down with the client. They have something they want to work on, release, let go of, that is either physical or emotional, usually at one of those two kind of lower levels, I guess. And then we figure out which chakra it's associated with. And then I have them lay down either on a mat or I have a massage table. And we start to do some breath work and use the stones on the chakra. And I start clearing the chakra and clearing the imprint from the energetic field. So it's very much one-on-one. It varies. I had one gal that I worked with for 3 hours. That was an extensive one, but normally about an hour and a half. So, yeah. And then it's not something that has to just be that one session. It can be, several sessions if it's a really deep-rooted issue. But for the most part, we like to try and see if we can clear it and then create kind of a new map of how they want to go forward with releasing whatever it is. A lot of times things come up visually or mentally in the session where people are really seeing how this relates to something back in childhood, or that they had no idea that it was actually connected, or they see it just from a different vantage point because you are they are and I am connecting to kind of a higher level of not just thinking about it with the conscious mind, but with tapping into the energetic field. So, yeah.
So I was just kind of, that sort of answered it. But I'm just wondering, working with the medicine wheel, if you address like one direction at a time until you're able to progress, or is it, you know what I'm saying, like, just let's work with the self for now and like heal that and then move on, or is it, do you use it all?
Are you talking about with a client or as you
like
navigate?
yourself?
Yeah, so when I was going through my my shamanic practice, we start with the self, and then we are doing all the practices on ourselves, on each other, and releasing, you know, the roles that we put upon ourselves, and we spend significant time in each of the directions, and you start at the lowest and then work your way up to the highest. So by the time you get to eagle, to energy, you've already shed a lot of stuff below that. Yeah. As a client, you're not necessarily going through the medicine wheel. You're just going, the shaman's going straight to the energetic level for you to help clear at the lower levels. Yeah. 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 Anyone else have any?
So once it's clear, does it stay cleared, or you have to return to, I guess it depends on how traumatized people are.
It depends on the person, how willing they are to make the changes in their lives to keep it away, because oftentimes, you know, you feel great right afterwards and you're like, wow, I really saw some stuff and I let some stuff go. But if you aren't willing to then make the changes in your life to facilitate whatever it was that you let go, if you keep on with the same patterns and beliefs and thought processes, then you're going to bring it right back in. So yes, there are people that kind of keep coming back with the same problem because they haven't decided to consciously let it go, that they keep hanging on to it. So yeah, just depends on the person. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah.
So do you have any daily rituals that, like, very simplistically that, you know, that we do for ourselves to sort of...
What are you looking to do?
Well, I was a nurse, so I've always worked with people when I worked in oncology, so I feel a lot of heavy energies.
Yeah.
But not always though. But just in general, I think that sometimes our I don't know the word is.
Just to kind of release some of that stuff, like.
Kind of like our vitality come down,
Mm-hmm.
kind of clogged up.
Mm-hmm.
So even just in our environment, like is there something that we can do just to keep our space and our...
Yeah. I mean, my first one is always the go-to is yoga, your physical practice, your meditation practice, going inward, keeping the body physically healthy. I personally, I use sage and Palo Santo often, and so I clear my own personal space and myself. Yeah, and it's interesting. I had learned at one point that sage clears both positive and negative energy, and Palo Santo clears negative energy. So with the sage, you just want to be ready and willing to bring in whatever energy, because it's clearing everything. It's giving you a blank canvas. So you want to be willing to then fill that space with the good energy or whatever it is that you want to bring in. Yeah. Exactly. I also have an altar that I spend time at. My husband and I, well, we have several altars throughout the house. So like this is my little traveling altar. But at home we just have, and an altar doesn't need to be religious or anything. It could have, you know, photos of people you care about. It could have some of your favorite books, you know, being on a bookshelf, and you just light some candles on that. I have the Buddha, Ganesh, a meteorite that we found on the beach here, candles, a jaguar, and a serpent. And so I kind of have this like mix of like Buddhism, Hinduism, shamanism, like all these things on my altar that all mean something to me. So I light a candle and just kind of, you know, sometimes maybe just turn off the lights and meditate with the candlelight. Yeah, colors are really powerful. I also do quite a bit of space clearing, and so I bring in different, like green for healing. I have to look at my detailed list of what all the colors mean, but you can usually find that kind of stuff if you're looking for something in particular. Red and pinks, if you want to bring in more love, obviously, and white just to purify. So it depends on what you're looking for, but yeah, definitely colors are powerful. They have their own vibration and their own frequency. I do. I have. So I have. When I space clear, I use different tools. So I have the rattle. I also play tabla. I play the drums, and shapaka. The looks like a coconut palm frond or something, and so you're shaking up the energy. You're moving things around a little bit. So yeah, there's all kinds of really amazing tools, and just depending on what feels right for you. That's the thing. It's like you don't necessarily need to delve into any particular thing. If you find something that works for you, that's from the yoga lineage or from Buddhism or from shamanism, just go with what feels right to balance that space. Yeah.
You said you were. I was just going to ask. You said you use sage and other things. Do you burn them, or do you just have them?
Yeah, I burn them. So smudging, obviously be careful with the fire hazard, but I burn it. And then I have, also you want something to like be able to put it out in, especially with the sage. Like the Palo Santo usually just blows out on its own, but the sage is really dry, and the whole thing, my husband burnt up a whole stick of sage one time because he didn't put it out properly. I was like, thanks for that. And so I have a little abalone shell that I put sand in that I just put it out. Yeah. And then just be careful with the sage because it can be really smoky. And then you want to open windows to let that energy out. So I do always open windows whenever I'm...
If you have fresh, you just twist it?
I've never tried to burn fresh. I don't know how well it would burn. I buy the actual sage sticks that are bound up in twine. You can find them. Shaman's Market is a great online retailer that has sage bundles, and you can make it on your own. So if you have a sage plant in your then you'll just go ahead and grab a bunch of it, and you can twist it up. I've seen videos of DIY on how to make your own sage bundles, but wrap it in twine and hang it somewhere in a dry space. Let it dry. Yeah. You can Google it. Yeah. And what were you saying? Sorry. Palo Santo. Palo Santo. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 2 words. Yeah. It's actually kind of an endangered tree, so I don't like to use it. I love the smell of it, but I don't. In South America and in the Amazon, and it is protected, but there are some unethical harvesting of it, and so I'm just always kind of careful of, but I love the smell of it. Oh, it smells so good. Copal is another really nice space clearing scent. You can buy that in incense sticks. That's in incense sticks or as the resin. Yeah, Copal. Yeah, COPAL. Yeah, that has a really nice smell too. No, I mean, our space is pretty, my husband and I have a lot of, high vibrations going on. We have a very stable, I would say, environment. I definitely space clear if there's been like a fight or some heavy news, or like I had a friend who I went and cleared her house for her after her family had come to visit, and they had just brought all kinds of weird, crazy energy. I could literally feel the energy when I walked into her house, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of heavy stuff going on here. So we cleared the space, and it felt immediately better. So no, you don't. I mean, if you want to, sometimes I do just walk around with something to kind of just uplift it. But you can usually tell when, if there's something heavy going on, or if you got some bad news or something like that, that you can clear the space. But yeah. All right.
I worked for a chiropractor many, many years ago, and every Friday we would say,
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of corporate offices now, businesses, real estate companies are utilizing space clearing, and they've found that it helps with morale, it helps with business, income or whatever, and that it's definitely changing things for the better. So, yeah, very cool. All right, so let's do an exercise. So one of my favorite things, I have so many fun exercises, but most of you have pen and paper. It's okay if you don't. So we're going to do what's called a journey statement. And this is basically something that potentially is limiting you. And it's interesting because I've known about the when-then statement. I just always called it a when-then statement, and then we actually delved deep into this and call it a journey statement. So I'll invite you to take a few minutes to think about what your when-then statement is. So, for example, I'll give you mine. It was, when I have enough money, then I will feel secure and happy. So I'm whatever, just one of, I'm sure most of us can relate to that. That's limiting me to waiting towards that period of time when I feel like I have enough financial security, instead of feeling that right now. But I'd like you to just think about what it is that's your when-then, what it is that's potentially holding you back or that you're waiting for to happen in order to be where you want to be. So, and then you can just think of it if you don't have any paper, and then we'll share with partners. So, how many people do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Perfect. That's okay. You can just think about it because it's not like it's a long, detailed thing. So. Okay, and whenever you're finished, maybe turn to the person next to you and go ahead and share your statement. So we'll just share it, and then I'll add on to how to work with this. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap up whenever you get a minute, and then we're going to work on it a little bit more. So, was everyone able to share it back and forth? Yeah? Okay. So we'll go ahead and we're going to rework the journey statement. Okay? Okay. We're going to rework the journey statement. So we don't want to turn it into an affirmation. That's working at the level of the jaguar. Do you want some more tissues? Here you go. Oh, microphone. So jaguar is the mind. So it's easy for mine, when I have enough money, then I will feel secure and happy. So without turning it into just present tense, I have enough money, or I have enough. That would just be kind of creating an affirmation about it. So you want to get a little more creative so that it's present tense, and then how you can find yourself in that space where it's already happening right now. So mine, two things for mine were I let go and everything falls into place, and I allow myself to receive all that I desire. So reworking it so that something present tense, you're taking the when then out of there completely, and you're creating something that is you can live right now in this present moment, so that you're receiving what it is that you need to. You're just changing the frequency of whatever that was that you were potentially striving, being the seeker for, and so you're not seeking for it anymore. So if you want to go ahead and work with your partners on that and try and rework it a little bit, and let me know if you need any help or suggestions or anything. Mariah, yeah. Yeah.
I always told friends that learn exploring the you want things. Do you want to get here? So that find a way to get there. Don't let things turn up. Yeah. And I say once I figure out what my next passion is, then I'll be happy and energetic and fulfilled and successful. My next phase. So I was going to say that I'm exploring different things so that. Is that what your heart's saying? Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's really good. Okay. So I'm passionate about my next adventure. You're then expressing consciousness. Right. Okay. All of the potential that's so all your memories are right. Okay, I like that. Awesome. And you are already understanding the memories in your head, not else. Yes. So you take the memories with you. Walls are just walls. Memories in your head.
Has anyone not switched partners yet? If you haven't, go ahead and switch. What's that? So you're reworking that. So you're taking the when then out of it, and you're making it into a present moment. Yeah. What's that? What is it?
When I have when I sell this, but then I'm going to have another thing of where do I go? What do I want?
When I sell the house, then I don't know where I'm going. Kind of like that is what you're working
Yes,
with right
that's
now. Okay.
exactly the
Okay.
thing. Or do I want?
I mean, you could change it to something simple like, I trust that I am going to be where exactly where I'm going to be. Something so that you're taking the wind then out.
Okay.
And you're
And
not
I guess
looking at
I
it
do,
just
because
your
people do so. But I do trust that I will know.
when it comes up.
Yes, yes.
So it's just reminding yourself.
Yeah, right now I'm just playing with possibilities and that's kind of,
Yeah,
But
I would just remind yourself of the trust of that the universe is going to
Yes,
give you
as it
where you
always
need
has.
to go and where. Yeah. So I trust that I'm exactly where I need to be, and I will always be exactly where I need to be.
yeah, that suddenly felt good.
And I love when you touch your chest too. Like that's always a good one.
Yeah.
The heart. Yeah. All right. Does anyone want to share theirs? Anyone interested in sharing theirs? How you journeyed from the first one to the second one? You don't have to. It can be a private thing. Yeah. Yeah. For yours? Yeah. Do you want to share yours? I really like that.
So, I guess my problem or my was when I find my next passion, then I'll feel fulfilled. And the answer is I am passionate about my passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that.
She says, I am passionate about my potential. So she doesn't quite know. Yeah, yeah. And she's leaving all of the possibilities open of what she could allow into her life as her passion. So, yeah, I love that.
Because I'm already passionate.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one is like I'm so passive, I'm just waiting.
Yeah, when I'm going to be passionate. I don't even know when I'm going to be passionate. Yeah, yeah,
And it's funny because as soon as she said that, I was like, me too.
yeah.
I feel like mine's kind of the same.
Yeah, I feel like when you start sharing journey statements too, oftentimes it's like, oh yeah, like that's mine too. And then you can kind of work it out together because you can resonate with it. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you do that in your practice?
I have. Oh yeah, with clients. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really powerful one. There's some really cool exercises like story writing and I like the one where it's especially if there are multiple people, like in a workshop setting, explain your life as if you were a river. I really like that one. And you have to kind of talk about the twists and the turns and the waterfalls and the dams and you're not really saying anything about your life, but you're describing it, you're thinking about things that have happened. So I really like that one because you're starting to then look at things from a different perspective. And that's really what it's all about. And one other thing I was going to say is, when people are, one of the things is as a shamanic practitioner is really tuning into someone at a deeper level than just language. We become so limited by using language and we take that as face value. But when you start to really delve into the energetic side of things, you notice how people use their body language, sit like this when they're protecting themselves or touch their heart when, you know that that's where they're coming from, and or if someone stands face onto you versus side to side, how are they presenting themselves? And you can really learn a lot from people about where they're at just by how their body language is. So, it's a really magical practice. Any other questions?
My one then was when I evolve or learn more spiritually, then I will find my path. And then I'll be truly happy, financially secure.
Wow, I like that. And you had a lot of things that you were looking for, looking ahead to. Yeah, but it was way out there in the future, and instead you're bringing it back down to this present moment. And that's something that when you start to shift into really, we hear the term mindfulness all the time. It's just thrown around, right? And it's but really being in the present and knowing that everything is only happening right now. It's not happening in the future. And when you keep looking at it, that it's going to happen in the future, it will always be that little carrot out of reach. You're always just going to be searching for it and grasping for it instead of it being right there in the present moment. So starting to just shift the mentality that everything is happening right here and now, and that everything is perfect, exactly how it's supposed to be. So, yeah.
And not using the word
Will, yeah. I will, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, words are really powerful too. They have a lot of energy within them. And when we limit ourselves by using words that are in the future or, wait for the future. Yeah. It's like mañana, right? Yeah. Very good.
No more carrots, no more rear view mirrors.
Yeah. There's another quote that I heard recently, and it was, there's a reason that your windshield is bigger than your rear view mirror because where you're going is bigger than where you came from. Yeah. I like that. All right, so we'll close sacred space, and then you can close yours. So we'll close our ceremony space, starting out by facing south. I did look at my compass beforehand just to double check we're in the right direction. All right, so facing south first. To the winds of the south, great serpent, Sachamama, thank you for being here in this space today. Thank you for teaching us to shed the past as you've shed your skin and to create a deep connection with the earth. Aho. And facing west. To the winds of the west, Mother Jaguar, Otorongo, thank you for being here with us in this space. Thank you for teaching us the way beyond fear and the way beyond death and how to live in stillness and with peace. Aho. To the winds of the north, Hummingbird, to all of our ancestors, grandmothers, grandfathers, to all of you who have come before us, bringing your wisdom into this space, we send this forward into the future, into our children's children. Aho. To the winds of the east, Eagle, Condor, thank you for showing us the perspective from the highest mountain peaks. Thank you for being here in this space, teaching us to fly wingtip to wingtip with great spirit. Aho. And to Mother Earth. Mother Earth, Pachamama, thank you for holding us. Thank you for creating a sacred sanctuary for us here, being on this earth, this beautiful place. We honor you and all of our relations here on this beautiful planet. Aho. Father, Son, Grandmother, Moon, Star Nations, thank you for bringing your wisdom down into this space here today. Thank you for allowing us to sing the song of life one more day. Aho. All right, thank you, everyone. And we'll close up here, I guess.
So thank you very much to Mariah Moyle. Let's give her a big hand. So after receiving this healing, we can continue our day, right? And there's another workshop too with Arjuna, and that would be about the 4 paths of yoga and asanas. So you're welcome to bring your yoga mat. 4 o'clock the yoga classes, 5:45 dinner, 7 o'clock the Gita Parayana, followed by a short study in the main temple. And 8 o'clock we are starting today a new program, and that is the Interfaith Devotional Singing Festival on the Wings of Ecstasy. And tonight we will have a kirtan by Shushri Rameshwari Devi. So that would start tonight in the evening satsang. And now we will conclude with the final mantras. You're welcome to tune in.